Hi, welcome. Today we're looking at the book of Matthew, chapter 7, the narrow gate, verse 13, 14. Enter by the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the way is easy that leads to destruction, and those who enter by it are many. For the gate is narrow and the way is hard that leads to life, and those who find it are few. How shall we understand these two verses? Basically, the first one is fairly easy, I suppose. Enter by the narrow gate. So, meaning following God, walking the path that God wants us to do. It seemed to be like that is a narrow gate, and the path that is easy and everyone, a lot of people enter and go through it, is a big and easy, like the world, everyone go with that, but it leads to destruction. So I think at the time Jesus was telling this, back then perhaps the city was built on like a wall covering the whole city, and the gate is really big for people to enter through. So that gate is big, but also next to it there is like a smaller gate, the narrow gate, and that gate require a little bit of effort to get through. Like if you're sitting on a camel, you would get down to lead the camel through it because it's narrow. So following Christ, meaning we are walking the narrow gate. What does it mean? It means the Bible is our rule. So we've got what Jesus spoken to us, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, 4 gospel. And we have to follow everything that is written in that. And as a human, it's hard to follow everything. And that's why it's mean narrow, because it's hard. Like if we are a driver of driving cars, we have rules, and when we know all the rules and we obey the rules, then we are a good driver, and that is keeping us safe. Following God, we follow all that Jesus is teaching us, and if we are obeying all that Jesus is teaching us, we become good Christians. But the problem is we are humans, we have fault and failing, and so following that, all of the rules that Jesus is teaching us is very hard, because from 1 John chapter 1 verse 8, if we say we have no sin, we deceive ourselves, and the truth is not in us. So it's hard, because when we are obeying all the rules, it's very hard. I mean, some people may find these rules are easier and then these are hard, but some people find these are easy and these are hard. So when Jesus is giving us a lot to follow, for us to be spiritually safe, it's hard. That's why it's narrow. And if we look at what Paul said, then we will understand that, because Paul is a great evangelizer. And Paul said this: for the desires of the flesh are against the spirit, and the desires of the spirit are against the flesh. For these are opposed to each other, to prevent you from doing what you would. Galatians chapter 5 verse 17. So we can see that even Paul is struggling, we are also struggling, because our body, the flesh, is fighting against the spirit. They're fighting each other. And so that's why it's called a narrow gate, because it's not easy. It's hard following God. And sharing with you another one also from Paul, and this is what he said, that It helps us to understand 1 Corinthians chapter 9 verse 27. But I pummel my body and subdue it, lest after preaching to others, I myself should be disqualified. So you can tell he's also struggling and he's trying very hard to get his physical body to obey him, because that is all part of us. That is part of the narrow path that Jesus mentioned. And God teaching us to forgive. Forgive is hard. I mean, it's easy for us to receive forgiveness from God, but when we have to forgive others, it's hard. And because basically we inherit from our ancestors, from Adam and Eve, the spirit of disobedience, and that's why the path is narrow. But if we are looking at one verse that Jesus said, and we will feel much better. John chapter 12 verse 32. And I, when I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all men to myself. So with God, everything is possible. And Jesus already said here that he will draw all men to myself. So meaning the powerful force of Jesus Christ drawing and drawing the whole human race to heaven. Jesus has already died on the cross, and it was very hard, a lot of suffering. Jesus doesn't want that to go to waste. Jesus wants everyone to receive it. He wants to have that powerful force drawing us to. So if we have done something great, obviously we didn't want it to go wasted. We want everyone to benefit. Jesus wants everyone to benefit from his death on the cross. And so that's why when he rose to life, from that moment he will powerfully draw us. And can you imagine that the design and the fulfillment concept, right? Like a man going out to build the house, he make the design of the house, then he built the house according to the design, and when the house completed, it become the fulfillment of that design. So God has in mind to create the people of God creation as a design. So we have Adam and Eve, we have a lot of people of God, the Israelite people, we have King David, prophets, Jeremiah, Elijah, Elisha. We have a few big figures of people there, the prophets for God, and that all part of creation, the people of God as a design. The fulfillment is this powerful force that Jesus said that when he is going to heaven, he will draw all men to himself. Meaning the fulfillment, people of God, the fulfillment creation is really great and powerful and strong, because the creation here in the design is of disobedience, saying no to God, descended. But from Jesus onward, when Jesus come, he started the new creation of obedience, of saying yes to God. And that creation is powerful, including all people, all generation, all nations. And this creation, not just we get to go to heaven, but it means we are supernaturally rich. We are the creation that God said that he shares his inheritance with us. We are co-heirs. We are not just saved. Saved means you go to heaven. So part of the Old Testament people, they also go to heaven. But they are not rich, because they are not part of the fulfillment. They are part of the Old Testament, of the design only. but we are here part of the fulfillment. And Jesus said, I will draw all men to myself. And that is powerful creation, including a lot and a lot and a lot, that you need to use your imagination to think of the number. It's so great that the number of people are not only saved but spiritually rich, because we share the inheritance with Jesus Christ. Now, in that Bible verses today, basically Jesus said, the gate is narrow and the way is hard that leads to life, meaning supernatural life, and those who find it are few. Basically, it's hard to understand this verse when it said find it are few, meaning not a lot of people are saved. No, I think Jesus meant he would save a lot of people, but those who find that easy, those who find the narrow path is easy to walk, perhaps is few, like the prophet Elijah. Elijah went up to heaven in the chariot of fire. Maybe that's what Jesus meant here, that those who find it are few. Perhaps those ones are few because they walk in holiness and righteousness, and they are not struggling like us, like Paul struggled, and we struggle. Peter struggled. Peter said, deny Jesus 3 times, and he said he wouldn't, but he did. So that's all part of human nature. And I think we all walking the narrow gate, and we are all finding it hard, but few find not hard, and few walking that path well. And maybe that's what Jesus meant, few who find it, like the prophet who went to heaven on the chariot of fire. And I think in general we have to think of as a whole, that even though it's hard, the power of God came through, and the power of God saving us, enriching us. The power of God said, when I am lifted up from the earth, I will draw all men to myself. So when we are reading these, we need to look at think of that verse, and that will help us to keep focus on what Jesus has done for us, focus on what Jesus is doing. The powerful force drawing us, not we ourselves, doing it. God, powerful force of God drawing us to heaven. So that's it. So today I will leave you with that verse. Jesus said, and I, when I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all men to myself. Thank you for joining me.